This is Yugiohobbyguy. Now this is my first video that I ever made of how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I hope this helps, from my perspective on how to teach you to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And gives you a better idea and understanding. And I also added some index in my description so it'll be easier to look at certain things that you like to, see or replay and watch. But go ahead and enjoy the video and yep. Learn how to play. So there's 8,000 life points for both you and your opponent. Your opponent has 8,000 and you have 8,000. When that 8,000 reaches to 0, you basically lose the game. Monsters attack, try to make your life points lower, or effects that makes your life points lower. Basically the whole goal of the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is trying to make each other's life points into 0 by summoning monsters, attacking, and doing things like that. Another way to defeat your opponent is having a deck out, which I'll explain in a bit. In Yu-Gi-Oh! You're using 3 types of decks. You're using your main deck, the deck that you draw from. Then you're using your extra deck, your stronger monsters that can be special summoned from your other deck. And then your side deck. Now your extra deck contains your XYZs, which are the black ones, Synchros, Fusion, etc. These guys need to have, special requirement to be special summoned. For example, instant fusion. I could special summon a level 5 or lower fusion monster by paying 1,000 life points. So I get my Cybersource and special summon for my extra deck. Now my side decks are usually cards that you bring to, tournaments because you play best out of 3. And after a duel, you can start switching cards from your extra deck. But it has to be after a duel, best out of 3. So you can't use these during a duel. So it's good to keep a side deck, especially going to, those expensive tournaments and you really want to win. By the way, if your deck runs out of cards because you keep drawing them, it is called a deck out when you run out of cards and you lose the duel. Now, what's on the field, this is your field, okay? There's your deck zone, where you place your deck right here and you draw from. There's spells and traps, there's only 5. Then your 5 monster card zones, there's only 5. Then there's your graveyard where your dead monsters go in. Your dead monsters are spells or traps. Then there's your field card zone. And then, sorry, my merchant, his face is in the way, but there's a extra deck here where you place your extra deck, remember? You put it right here. But extra decks must be put face down. I forgot to mention that. Okay. That is what's on the field. You can only summon 5 monsters on the field. Alright? 5 total monsters. And 5 spells and traps. Another word of advice is if all your spells and trap zones are covered, you cannot activate spells or trap cards. In Yu-Gi-Oh! There are cards that you use to battle each other and activate things to destroy each other's monsters and stuff. These are the monsters. The dark browns are effect monsters. They have certain effects that can be used, while the lighter brown are normal monsters which don't really have effects. Then you have your spells and trap cards, purple, blue. Then you have your fusion monsters, purple, or darker purple. Don't get mixed up with the traps. Then you have your rituals. These guys are the blue. Then you have your white, synchros. That's what they're called. Then the new recent one, black ones, the XYZs. Pretty funky name, but that's what they're called. They are black. And it's optional, you can have a token. It's it's man-made. Alright, anyway. These are the cards that you use in Yu-Gi-Oh! Each has their own special abilities and their effects, and can be used differently, and we will go into detail later on. But these are mostly the general cards that we all use in Yu-Gi-Oh! Especially effect monsters, spells, and traps. Now this is your hand. At the start of a duel, you draw 5 cards. Now this is the start of your hand. Now in your hand, you can activate cards, summon monsters, and, do a lot of things. You must draw 1 card during the start of your turn, which is called the draw phase. We'll go into more detail later. The total cards you can have in your hand is 6. Right now I only have 5. So when it's my turn, I get to draw 1 card and have 6 cards total in my hand. If you have more than 6, such as 7, you must discard 1 card during the end phase, which is another time where I'll tell you, which is basically the end of your turn, but we'll go in more detail after that. Okay, so this is your hand that's, in your hand. Now we will be going on the flow of a turn. Now, a flow of a turn is how a turn works. The first part when it's your turn is the draw phase. This is when you draw a card. Next is the standby phase. Usually monsters have effects that requires you to do something during the standby phase. Next you have the main phase. The main phase is the main part of your turn, where you start summoning, start activating spells and traps, or switching battle positions of monsters. Next is the battle phase. This is when war breaks out. So that's when all your monsters can start attacking. You could also activate spells or trap cards, only certain ones though, and to aid you in battle. Next is the main phase 2. This is after the battle phase. During the main phase 2, you can also activate other spells or trap cards in your hand, or summon monsters or set if you haven't yet during the main phase 1. And after the main phase 2, it is the end phase, the turn where it ends your turn and it's your next opponent's turn. Some monsters' effects might happen during the end phase also. So that's the flow of a turn. Sorry for the sudden change of color, but I'm taking this during a nighttime. But anyway, continuing on, there are certain ways to summon monsters. Now, this is a level 4 monster, okay, because there's 4 stars. Level 4 or lower are able to be normal summoned, and you can only summon 1 monster per turn. Special summoning is as many times as you want. When it has a high level monster like this one right here is a level 6, he needs to tribute one. You need to tribute 1 monster in order to normal summon him. So I'm going to summon him. You have to tribute him to the graveyard and normal summon him like that. That's only for level 6 or 5. Now if you're level 7 or higher, then you do require 2 tributes. Now to synchro summon, this is how you synchro summon. You need to have 1 tuner and 1 normal, or not, 1 monster. So this monster is a tuner monster because it says tuner right here. And this is just a regular monster. You cannot use 2 tuner monsters unless said so right here. Because see right here it says 1 tuner plus 1 more machine tuner monster, and these both are machines. So level 7, these stars have to equal to this level 7 star. So level 7, synchro summon, boom, like that. Next is XYZ. XYZ. Now these are ranking 4s. They do not count as levels. They are ranked. So in order to summon them, it's pretty easy. You just get your 2 monsters that on the field, they have to be the same rank or level. So it's level 4, that's a rank 4. They must overlay like that. And then you could XYZ summon from your extra deck. These guys are pretty easy to send out and are really strong too. So I'm not going to talk about fusion summoning because that's pretty easy to know. You just got to read the spell card and do what it says. Same with rituals. Now in Yu-Gi-Oh, there are some spells or trap cards that don't work the same as others. They have icons that show each other's differentiality, I guess. For example, this Desynchro is a normal spell card because it doesn't have an icon. But this Mystical Space Typhoon has a quick play icon on it. Now, what's the difference between these two? Mystical Space Typhoon, you can activate it as a trap because of the icon. So you can set it, now it's your opponent's turn, you can activate it. Unlike Desynchro though, you can set it, it's your opponent's turn, you cannot activate it because it is a slow spell normal card. Quick play spell cards are good. That is a quick play spell card. Next you have your field card, field zone card, whatever. It's a kind of like a compass kind of thing. Remember, you must activate it right here on the field zone. And when you set it, you must set it here. You cannot set it like down here, like where your spell or trap card zone are. Next, you have your equip card. Now, equip cards usually power up your monsters on the field. and are activated just like a normal spell card, but they are equipped. Next, you have your continuous card. Same thing as a normal spell card, but these cards stay on the field unless otherwise. Okay. You also have normal trap cards. Now, normal trap cards, you just set it on the field, your opponent's turn, then you can start activating them. Remember, you cannot activate the turn you set them, or just from your hand like a magic card. It is a trap card, and it doesn't work like that. There's also a continuous trap card, just like, the continuous spell card. Flip, activate, it works just as a regular trap card, but it stays on the field, okay, unless otherwise. Next is your counter trap cards. Now these cards are faster than, all the other cards. We'll go, the speeds, each of these cards have different speeds. It is called a spell speed, and we'll go through that in another minute, alright? Counter trap cards. Now how counter trap cards work is, let's say I activate this trap card, boom, and your opponent has this counter card. He can activate it to negate it or do something of whatever the card asks for, since it's a counter. Okay, we'll go into more details in a bit. So that's the cards and the icons and what they do. Spell speeds are kind of confusing at first in a way, but that's why there are these icons. So I decided to do an example first. There's a spell speed 1, spell speed 2, and spell speed 3. Spell speed 1s are usually spell cards that you activate from your hand, or a trap card that you activate on your turn. Spell speed 2 are the quick play ones. So let's say I activate this one, the Character Anatomy. It's a continuous spell card. I can activate this as a spell speed 2 to destroy it. That's a spell speed 2. Then the final spell speed is a spell speed 3, which is the fastest card ever. Whoops, okay. Remember, it's the trap cards that are spell speed 3, and it's a counter. Okay, it has to be a trap counter. Okay, so for example, let's do this. Your opponent has a monster in his hand, and he summons this monster right here. I can activate a Fiendish Chain to do its effect thingy on it, and then your opponent activates, boom, 7 tools to negate it. Remember, when I activate it, it's a spell speed 2, because when he summoned, that's a speed 1, but when I activate this, that's a spell speed 2, and then when he activates the trap card, that's a spell speed 3. Now, in order to beat that spell speed 3, to negate it, I need to have another counter card that has to have an arrow to beat spell speed 3. Spell speed 3 only beats spell speed 3. So, nope, I can't activate this. It's a spell speed 2. It can only work as a spell speed 2. Doesn't meet the level 3. I can't activate this either because that's a counter and it's too slow, so I have to wait. And then I can't even activate this because it's a spell. What the heck? So, in order to defeat that spell speed 3, I need to have another spell speed 3 to negate this one in order for this to work on that. Or the counter does something else. Yeah, but that's basically the spell speeds. Okay?